welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel, brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. You have made it to week 4 of the Marley Bird Abstractly Chic Shawl Crochet Along. This is the 2018 Crochet Along, hosted by me, Marley Bird, sponsored by Red Heart Yarns. By this point, the body of your shawl is complete, and the only thing left to do is the final edging and the center slip stitch cables that we will do. To follow along with the pattern, go ahead and grab that over at marleybird.com. I have put a link in the video description right down there below. And while you're down there, smash that like button, as my friends say, to let people know you have enjoyed this video or this whole series. I want to start off this section by doing a blocking of our shawl to begin. The reason I want to do the blocking to begin with is I find it easier to work the edging around a shawl that is blocked out to the measurements we want it to be, and it just looks a little bit cleaner and crisper. Before I begin blocking, I want to remind you again that I am using a 100% merino yarn. So as I steam block this yarn, I'm not going to ruin it. But if you were to steam block acrylic, it's very possible that you could do what's called kill the acrylic. And so I don't want you to accidentally ruin your shawl by doing so. So please proceed with caution as you block your shawl, okay? So I am using the merino yarn, and this is my little sample swatch that we have made together. And you'll notice that it looks kind of odd, right? It's just kind of a little bit misshapen, and it's just the nature of doing the stitches. And that's why I like to block this out before I do the edging. I feel like it really just makes it easier to do the edging. You'll notice that I have one of these cardboard cutting boards that you can get at like Joann's or Michael's or Walmart or AC Moore or Hobby Lobby or any sort of big box store. When you first buy one of these, before you do any sort of blocking, make sure you wipe it down with a damp paper towel to get off any extra ink that might have been left behind. And then I like to use this to do my blocking because it's easy to use the grid lines, and that will help me measure out and make sure that things are blocked evenly. Along with the piece that I will be blocking on, let me just jump in real quick. If you don't have one of these pieces, you can still do blocking. It's just this makes it easier with the grid. You could always just pin it out on like a towel, or I've seen people do it on a bedspread. I mean, so you find what works for you. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be doing steam blocking, and I'm using this Rowenta Ultra Steam hand steamer. This is very handy, no pun intended. I think I purchased it, I think it was less than $40 on Amazon or someplace like that. And I find it really helpful when I am doing steam blocking, okay? So these are the materials I need, along with some push pins. So for me, I am using push pins that have a nice little like ball type thing at the top, and I want to make sure that they aren't going to rust if they get wet. So make sure that you're using pins that will not rust. Once you have all the materials, you want to go ahead and pin out your shawl to the schematic measurements. Now the schematic is on your pattern. You can find it there, and it'll give you the different measurements for your shawl. So you want to go ahead and pin that out as closely as possible. If you find that it doesn't stretch as far as maybe the wingspan measurement is, just get it as far as you can. If it stretches a little bit farther, go ahead and do that. Do what works best for you, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and jump in and do that now. Once again, mine is not the same size as yours, so I'm gonna just jump here at the start, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know that that is 6 because that is the same size as yours. So I'm just gonna let that be my starting point. I'm going to pin my center 6 inches wide. And now I'll go ahead and I'm going to come out here. I'm going to just stretch this out and pin it. And this is adjustable if you find that you are pinning things and when you get done it doesn't look quite right. You can always go back and adjust the pins, okay? Once you get your shawl pinned out the way you want it to be, make sure there's nothing extra on your shawl. So right here, I still have that little stitch marker on there. I want to make sure that is removed. I don't want that on there anymore, okay? So I have nothing else on here, and you've probably already noticed I have all of my ends already woven in. And this is where I go ahead and I'm going to take my steam blocker, or not my steam blocker, my steamer, and I'm going to then go ahead and press this button, and it'll shoot out really hot steam onto my actual actual shawl. Here is my no duh warning. Make sure you keep your fingers away because the steam coming out of the steamer is hot and you don't want to burn yourself, okay? Another thing is you do not want to place the steamer, okay, this part here, directly onto the actual shawl, okay? It's just not good, especially if you happen to be using a steamer from an iron. You never want to touch that iron part to any of your fiber. All right, so it's just really easy. I'm going to come down here and let this start coming out. Can you hear it? So what is happening, I don't know if you can see the steam coming up or not, but it is coming up and I am just applying the steam to the fabric. And what that's going to do is just kind of set the fabric, set the stitches in place, and it'll help keep this in check. If I wanted to wash and block this shawl, I could do that as well. And that would be simply just immersing the entire shawl into a piece of some water and then pinning it out and letting that dry overnight. But when you are trying to do something relatively quickly, doing it with a steamer makes it really easy. So as I come around, I want to make sure that I am applying enough steam to the project. And as you go along, if you're working with one of these, this little vessel right here is what keeps all the water. So as that runs out, I run out of steam. I'm going to set this down real quick. I'm just going to come back, just kind of make sure it's all coming through. And you'll notice I didn't put any pins right here to start off. It's because I wanted to be able to get to the edge and be able to maneuver things out a little. But now that they are positioned out, I will go ahead and just add some pins now. It's just a personal preference thing with me. I like to be able to have at least an edge open so I can get in there and maneuver. So I'm going to go ahead and continue steaming this piece so that way I can get it to a pretty good measurement and it'll look really nice and even before I begin my edging. Once your shawl is fully steam blocked, you can go ahead and let it rest for a little bit. Let it set in that position. You can do it anywhere from 10 minutes to 2 hours. It's totally up to you. Then you'll go ahead and unpin your shawl. As you unpin, it might relax a little bit, and that's okay. But the overall measurement should be relatively close to what you have pinned it as. And you're going to notice from the start of this video to what this shawl looks like now, it's much more uniform, okay? It's much more uniform and in place, and I will find it so much easier to work the next part of the shawl pattern with this pattern in shape. Much more uniform, much more balanced. Okay, first step is done. Let's go ahead and work our edging. We are on the home stretch, people. Let's do this. Okay, so we are on the edging portion of the pattern, so let's go ahead and jump in. We want to make sure that we have the right side of the shawl facing us. And one way that you can tell what the right side is, take a look at the single crochets we did along the edge here. You'll notice that there is an obvious right side and wrong side with those stitches. This is the wrong side, the one that looks really obvious that those stitches are all in there, and this is the right side. Once you have decided which side is the right side, we are going to jump in by joining our color A to the edge of the shawl. So go ahead, and I like to pick right at the top wingspan edge. I'm going to join with a slip stitch into this stitch right up here. So I'm going to grab my color A, my nice dragon fruit color. I will go ahead, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and draw through that loop. So I've just joined with a slip stitch. I will chain one, and I'm going to single crochet evenly all the way down the wingspan of my shawl. Now you'll notice I didn't give you a set number of stitches to actually work it across the shawl itself. It's because it really doesn't matter what the number of stitches is. It just matters that you single crochet as evenly as possible. As you're working across actual stitches, as I am right here, it's really easy just to put a single crochet into each stitch or to each chain one space. But as we get across to where we're working along the rows, you just want to make sure that you're working single crochets over those rows. That makes it so that it will not pucker, okay? When you come to the corner, you want to make sure that you place 3 single crochets in the corner. This will make it so that your shawl has a really nice and gradual curve going around. Once you've done the 3 single crochet, you will go ahead then and work down the edge, and this does not count as a corner. You are simply just going to single crochet along this bit here and along this bit here. And when you get up to this corner, you'll place 3 single crochets and then slip stitch into the very last single crochet. After you do that, it's really simple. You'll chain 1 and then single crochet in each of the single crochets you just made, making sure that you place 3 single crochets in the corner once again. After you are finished with that, you're done with the edging. After you're done with the edging, we can move on and actually do the slip stitch cables. Okay, for sake of time, I've only done 1 round on my little example, but you can see here it's already starting to look nice and clean, and it just cleans everything up. And that's only with 1 round. Imagine what 2 will look like. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and work my slip stitch embroidery up this center portion of our shawl. And so what I'm going to do is I will take the color that I want to have as my cable colors. I'm going to use this color here, and working into all of the chain 1 spaces, okay, starting with row 2 of the chain 1 spaces, I will actually work slip stitches all the way up with those chain 1 spaces as my guide. You'll notice that there is a stitch chart for this section. There is a stitch chart for this section in week 2, and I've brought it back for week 4 as well. Even if you didn't use the stitch chart in week 2, it will really help you here this week, because what I want you to do is follow those blue dots first. We're going to follow the blue dots, and what that will do is it's going to tell you where to make those slip stitches into the chain 1 spaces, and then we'll go back and work the pink dots. And then wherever the 2 dots intersect, where they cross over, it'll be in the chain 2 spaces, we will have a choice. Either we will continually just keep all the pink dots on top of the blue, or we will work the stitches underneath some of the cables to give it an actual cable. Let me show you what I mean, and it'll make a little bit more sense. So here at the start, I have my work right here. I'm putting it behind, okay? So here is my string that I'm going to be working with, and it's behind. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find my row 2 for my center section, and then my first chain 1 space. So it's right here. I'll stick my hook in, and I'm literally just grabbing my yarn and pulling it up. Now, what I want to do here is I want to make sure I don't let this tail get cinched up and work away. So I'm just going to kind of hang on to it. And then working with my hand behind the work, I'm just going to position it and let my hook follow up to the next chain 1 space, yarn over. I know it's hard to see because it's behind, but I'm back here and I'm just yarning over my hook and pulling it up. Okay, so I'm going in, yarn over my hook, pull it up and pull through. Next chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up, pull through. Chain 2 space, yarn over, pull up, pull through. Next chain 2, pull over, yarn over, pull up, pull through. Now this is making it so that way I can go to this side. So I go to the next chain 1 space on this side, yarn over, pull up, pull through, and I work my way up. And what you will notice is there are 6 chain 1 spaces on either side, and then there's 2 chain 2 spaces. So it becomes really rhythmic. And once you get the 6, you'll say, okay, I'm to the chain 2, so I'm going to the chain 2, yarn over, pull up. Make sure you do the next chain 2, yarn over, pull up. And now you'll notice I'm back over here to this side. So I'm going to follow all of my chain 1s over here on this side. And I would follow it all the way up. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this part finished. You'll have to readjust every now and again just to give yourself the perfect tension, but it's just like this. That's why these chain one spaces are so important. It's really allowing you to have a guide to make these slip stitches. Otherwise, we would just be poking it in and hoping we had a nice even embroidery going on, where with the chain ones or the chain two spaces, we don't have to guess. It's all done for us. When you get to the top, go ahead and pull through that last stitch. Go ahead and cut the yarn, leave yourself a nice little tail, and then pull that up. We will then go ahead, and I'll show you how to do this right now. You'll thread this tail onto your tapestry needle, and you will tuck it back in through that same chain one space, so it's on the other side now. And I can go ahead and just weave in this tail just to hide it and get it out of the way. Okay, so it's just going to be hidden right here. Never show. And voila, that one's done. So I could go ahead and cut this. And then the same goes for the beginning part down here. Just turn this over and I can take my end and weave it in. So now I have the start of my cable. So that's one. So now I'm going to start over here on this side, which is following the pink stitches, and go up. And when I get to where this crossover is, I have to decide if I want my stitch to go underneath that stitch there or over top. If I go underneath here, that means when I come back up here, I want it to go over top up here. And then I come around, and then I'll have it go underneath here. Or vice versa. You decide what works best for you. Just be consistent with it. Let me show you how that works. So I'm going to use a different color just so you can better see how this works out, okay? So I am using, this color is called Sweet. And I will find my chain one space and pull up my loop. And let me get my tension here, and we will jump in. So I will go ahead and start following my chain one spaces up. Oops. And this is automatically where I have to decide. So I'm right here, and it's this loop here. Do I want it on top to go back into the chain two space, or do I want to take my hook and go underneath that one, grab that, and pull it underneath? Either way works, okay? But you just decide. So I'm going to do it that way to start. And now I'm over here to this side, so I have to follow up my chains over here. Let's see here, make sure I'm in the right space. Yes, I am. My hook doesn't want to cooperate. And then when I get up here, I'm in the chain two space. So the first chain two space, I do it like normal. It's the second one that I make the decision. Now, because I took the blue underneath this one down here, I want to make it on top of this one up here. And that's what gives it the illusion of being a cable. See how it looks like it's underneath that one? It's over this one, and then it'll go underneath the next one. Okay, so that's how you get that cable look. And you don't have to do all of your cable stitches in one color. You can do two colors like I'm showing you here. You can do whatever works for you. But then once it's all done, you would then weave in your ends, and everything is complete. So I'm going to set this down so you can get an idea of how that looks. And it's just really cool. It's just a neat little extra to this. Once that is complete, and you've already done your edging, the only thing left to do is actually an optional piece. It's the tassels. Tassels are super easy, and I'm pretty sure you guys know how to make them, but just in case, I'm gonna show you how to make some tassels now, and then I literally just stitched them right onto the ends, and it just helped the shawl lay on my shoulders a little bit better. I gave it some weight. So let me show you how to make the tassels, and then you're done. To make tassels, there's a lot of different ways and some really great tools out there that you can use. I'm going to show you how I learned how to make a tassel many, many years ago. It's super bare bones basic, and I just figured it'd be good to show you that way. So let's do this. I have a piece of poster board. This is like a core foam poster board, and it's about 6 inches long, and I've cut 2 little slits into it. The little slits are actually just so that I can place my yarn, and it's just going to hold it in place, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap my yarn around this poster board however many times I want to, and this is going to be the thickness of my tassel, okay? So I'm just wrapping, and I'm not going to make this super big, okay? So I'm going to make mine a little bit thinner just so that we can get through this. But you can get the concept, right? If you have 2 balls of yarn or 2 colors you want to do at the same time, you could wrap them both at the same time and get a really cool variegated sort of look and effect. It'd be just kind of neat, right? So you're just kind of wrapping it around, and on this end I put that there so it can just hold it in place, okay? So that's that part. I'm going to use a different color for this next section. I'm going to take about a 12-inch length of yarn here, and I'm going to use my tapestry needle because it's easier to get it in. You should have one because you used it to weave in your ends, but I'm just pulling that string underneath all those loops I just created, okay? And now what I will do is I'm going to pull this as close up to the top here as I can, and I'm going to tie it. I'm going to tie it once. I know I can't get it up there because it just makes it hard with the cardboard. But if I go around this twice and I wrap this twice in here, it's not going to come undone. So let's make sure that's nice and tight. Put my finger there, make that one tight. All right, so this string here, this is actually what I will use to attach to the actual shawl, okay? Because this is going to be the top of my tassel bit. And so what I can do now is I can undo these sections and then very carefully push all this tassel bit off of the cardboard, okay? All right, so now this is the top and this is the bottom. Can you see? So there we are. What I can do now is before I cut this bottom, some people like to cut it first. I don't. I like to wait. I can go ahead and I can take the other part that I want to create this sort of, you know, the really pretty, I call it like the top bell part of the tassel. You can start right here. Let's get a nice length of yarn. It can be any color you want. It could be the same color. I'm going to tie this on. However high or short or whatever you want it to be, okay? I'm going to tie that on. Again, I like to wrap it around a couple times because it makes it so it stays really well. And then what I'm going to do is very carefully, without wrapping this, okay, I'm going to take my long end and wrap it around all of this to kind of give myself the head, okay? And when it's all done, I then will take my tapestry needle once again and tuck that extra string down inside the tassel so it will never show. Once you get it around as many times as you want, one thing you can do, so I'm going to turn this back around. So I have the starting point. This is the one I've been wrapping. I'm just going to tie those. Okay, and then I can thread these onto my tapestry needle. Pull those through. And then simply go inside the tassel here and just pull it down. And when I do that, remember one side's a little bit longer, that'll be hidden on the inside. And I can keep it long, I can cut it short. I can do whatever I want, but now it's hidden on the inside of that tassel. Okay, so here's my tassel, and it's uncut so far, okay? So I haven't cut it. So at this point, now I just come down here, find the ends, right? All the ends here, and I go ahead and cut them apart. So that way my tassel is open. And it's nice to have a good sharp pair of scissors to do this. And you can do any color you want as far as what you want to wrap it, what color you want your tassel to be itself. And then at the end here, you can decide if you want to leave them kind of scraggly, if you want them, you know, oddly shaped, or if you want them nice and uniform. I will leave that up to you. I'm just going to trim it up a little bit. Okay. So once that's done, here's your tassel. All you would then do is in the center of those 3 single crochets you made at the corner, I literally just took my tapestry needle here, thread my string on, and then I worked on the inside. So I kind of worked on the inside of that chain 3 area. And I liked mine really close. Now I know Caitlin did hers, the one that's the solid color gray with the purple. She had hers dangling down a little bit. I liked mine nice and close. So I just attached it really nice and close. Okay, so I would attach it a little bit more, weave in my end, and then your tassel is dangling from the edge of your shawl. Now that you know how to make a tassel and you've done everything else, your shawl is complete. Let's take a look at the finished sample one more time just so that you can see what it looks like. All right, so as I had talked to you guys before, this is the finished neutrals color, and I can bring this over just like so, and you can see the lovely tassel that was attached to the inside of this one as well. Again, it's just on the center of the 3 single crochets at the corner. The edging makes it a really nice clean edge all the way around the shawl when you do 2 rows. It just makes it really nice and finished off. And that's the same on both sides, okay? You can see here in the center portion that we made it to where this first cable went over top, but then when we came around, it went over top, and we came around and it went over top, and it came around and it went over top. So this one we didn't intermingle at all. But on this one, we came over top, we went underneath. We came over top, we went underneath. We came over top, we went underneath. My point of showing you that is it really doesn't matter which way you do it. It's totally up to you, and both ways are going to look great. You probably never even noticed that the 2 cables were different, and that's to show you that it can be really something your own. On mine, I left the bottom parts nice and open, but if you wanted to go a little bit further, you could even do slip stitches around and create like joining that together if you wanted to. I didn't really think it needed it, so I didn't do it. I liked how it was nice and open. Again, on this one, it has a really nice edge of the 2 rows. And then my tassels are a little bit more short and squatty than the ones on this one. So that shows you that you can literally use any length of tassel you want. And you'll notice on mine, I changed colors. I wanted to have some sort of a pop, some more of that pretty sunset color when I was working with mine. So I had a little bit different in there. And that's it, you guys. I really hope you have enjoyed working on this Abstractly Chic shawl along with me and the other crochet alongers in the Facebook group. It has been a lot of fun. Just so that you know, for the rest of the year, we are going to be doing some fun crochet along projects in the Marley's Minion group. If you want to be a part of that, I will put a link to the Marley's Minion group on Facebook in the video description box below. That is different than the crochet along group, just so you guys know. We try and keep those separated. So that way, those of you who only want to be part of the crochet along, you have your own designated space. But if you want to follow along with me and a lot of really fantastic and wonderful knitters and crocheters, we just have fun throughout the year, go ahead and join me over in the Marley's Minion Facebook group. So yeah, there's that. So for the rest of the year, this isn't it for us. We're working on a lot of other things. And then next spring, we will come back with a new knit along. And it'll just be a good time. And as you know, I do come out with a video every week, so make sure you have hit subscribe to the Marley Bird YouTube channel, and you'll be up to date whenever there is a video released. And that's it, you guys. I really hope you've had a good time. Make sure that you tag me on social media, hashtag MarleyBirdCAL. I want to be able to smash your like button as you are finishing up your shawls. If you wear your shawl out, make sure you show me. I want to see it. And I'm just excited. Thank you so much for participating in this crochet along with me, and I will see you again soon. I'm Marley Bird, proud spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns. Bye. Everything you need to know about knitting or crochet can be found right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Learn with Marley Bird. Visit youtube.com/Marley Bird.